Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to episode 7 of the 21st Century Blues podcast. I'm Tim, and I'm joined today by Andrew Icedale. He's a financial diversification consultant. And today, Andrew's going to tell us more about geopolitical diversification. That this is the topic for today's episode. So, Andrew, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
So for starters, I'm not sure if everybody that's listening is actually familiar with what geopolitical diversification actually is. So let's start with by explaining what it is and breaking it down a bit.
So what we are doing is that we are helping individuals who are maybe concerned about the situation in their country. They're not satisfied. They're thinking that they're not getting a good deal for the amount of taxes they are paying,
Hmm.
and they maybe want to go somewhere else, or perhaps they don't want to move. They just want to have more options. They want to diversify. So they want to move to another country to have better lifestyle, to pay less taxes, to have better opportunities, and they don't know how to start, where to go, what is the best option for them. Or perhaps they want to stay in their country, but they would just feel with a better peace of mind if they knew that they have an offshore bank account somewhere else, or if they knew how to use crypto effectively so that they are not relying politically on one country, on one government, and that they have options. So we help people figure this out, and in some cases, we help set it up as well.
Hmm. So it's related mostly to it. I mean, it's in the sector of finances. It's related to that.
Not only, but it's mostly finances, and it's closely linked to finances.
Hmm.
It can also be, of course, reducing your taxes is also related to finance. But it could also be about lifestyle. It could be that it's not just about money for you. You want to go somewhere where the cuisine is better, where the people are friendlier, the climate is nicer. But you've never lived in another country. You've not traveled much, so you have no clue, and you have some mental blocks about it. So it could be about that as well.
Mhm. So I'm not sure if I'm understanding it correctly. So if you have some mental blocks about it, then how exactly, does that play into the picture? How do you resolve that? How do you resolve those blocks?
What I see is that for me it's a bit like I've traveled quite a lot in different parts of the world.
Hmm.
I've lived in a few different countries, and what I see is that if I speak to the typical people who haven't lived their country, especially in the Western world, and they've traveled a bit, but maybe mostly in very similar countries. They have some idea about how the rest of the world looks like, which was maybe accurate 20, 30 years ago,
Hmm.
but it's not the situation now. And they mostly don't imagine how it could be somewhere else. They cannot imagine that maybe in some other countries it's actually safer than in their own country, that things are nowadays very easy. In a lot of countries, they might have concerns about things like healthcare,
Hmm.
about schooling, about banking. Uh, but they often just dismiss a lot of good opportunities because they cannot even imagine that it could be good or even better somewhere else.
Hmm.
And so for me, it's sometimes a bit difficult to understand their mindset because for me it's the other way around because I've seen it firsthand. But on the other hand, it's very easy for me to show it to them and to explain how it can be easier and better.
So when you do this, when you show and demonstrate this to people, how do you usually go about it? What do you usually point out? Is it a case by case basis? Are there things that you always point out? Maybe you can kind of guide us through the
It's
process a little
it's
bit.
really a case by case scenario because what I offer is consulting for someone's specific situation. So it could be someone that lives in France who has a lot of money, and doesn't know what to do with it and only has money in a bank account, which I would say is a very bad idea nowadays. And
Mhm.
they already recognize that they should go somewhere else, but they don't know where to start. And maybe they want to have an offshore bank account, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where to do it, how to do it. They even want to leave the country, but they're just looking for help to start what are the best options. And
Mhm.
what are the best options for one person might not be the best option for someone else. This is the reason why it's not usually good enough to just look online and
Mhm.
see what other people are saying, because you have to look at your specific situation. Do you have kids that need to go to school? Do you want to travel back to your country often? Uh, like, what is your financial situation? Do you have substantial savings you are going to live from? Are you going to work remotely? Are you going to look for a new job somewhere else? So this is all things to consider. What kind of climate is friendly to you? Some people like warm weather, others prefer colder weather. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a tailored solution for individual needs. But it could be someone that is not interested to leave their country, but they just want to have options. They understand that maybe even their money, they feel that their money is safe because they have well diversified investments, not only in their country, but also abroad. So they're doing very well in that regard. It's very wise what they are doing, but they feel like when it comes to their ability to transact, if things go badly politically in their country, how will they access the money? How will they
Mm.
be able to go somewhere else? How will they be able to buy a plane ticket if they are the typical person who only has one bank account, one payment card? Then what they think, okay, I can open another bank account, but it will be in my country again. So maybe I should have an offshore bank account, or maybe I should get into crypto, but maybe I don't know anything about it and it's overwhelming. Where do I start? How do I use it safely without getting scammed? So these kind of things.
So crypto is one way to kind of diversify, and because you said before, right, that it's a bad idea to only have money in your bank account. And like based on what you just said, I immediately thought of like a few years ago when PayPal was freezing the accounts of people that basically didn't agree with their stance, with their perspective, and that was probably a kick in the butt for a lot of people to kind of start
Not
thinking
only
about
PayPal,
diversifying.
even maybe a bigger case was actual bank accounts being frozen in
Mhm.
Canada. We've seen that a few years ago as well. So, but if
Mhm.
you have a bank account in another country, that can be much more difficult. Perhaps your government doesn't even know about it. But I would say there's two things. There's one thing is that if you have some money, if you have some assets, diversifying that is one point. That of course, this we have to be careful here because this can go into financial advice territory. But basically, you don't want to have everything in one basket. That is the
Mhm.
point. People know this, people recognize this, but then they forget that they are not doing this diversification also geopolitically. So maybe they have multiple bank accounts, they have multiple currencies, they have different kinds of investments, but it's all in the same country. So if things, and that might not have been an issue for people in the past, but as things progress in the world, as the things we've seen, more people are becoming aware of this, that this is a disadvantage if they have this and a big risk. And many people are not even thinking about it, and
Mhm.
they should be, I would say. But then they all have in one country. So if there is some issue with the government, then they can lose access. maybe the investments themselves continue to do well, but how do you access it if it's frozen or locked and if you need to use it? But if you have a house in another country, if you have a bank account in another country, if you have crypto, which does not depend if it's in private wallet on
Mhm.
countries at all, then you're kind of free in that regard. And then another point to consider is that people maybe even recognizes that they should go to another country, that they should have different things in different countries. But then often the mindset is that they keep um, using the same countries over and over. For example, someone from UK wants to leave UK because of the situation there. Maybe they want to diversify, that they don't have all their money only in UK. So where do they usually think of going, or where do they put the money? It's usually US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, basically the same countries.
Yeah.
And people, because people don't have this experience of going somewhere else, they don't even think about other countries, or they think like they would not trust those other countries. And of course, you have risks, but you have different risks in your country. You have different risk in another country. If it's maybe some more exotic country like Panama, Paraguay, Georgia, then some people have mistrust against this. So this is something, but it's of course there are risks in such countries, but very different risks compared to your own country, like UK, Canada, France, Germany. So it's about diversification.
And would something like working remotely in one country that suits you better, while your employer is maybe in a different country when the standards are different, and this would allow you to kind of get a salary that you're happy with, but not be subjected to as high taxes, as high inflation rates as in other countries? Would that also would that also fall under geopolitical diversification?
This is a very nice point. It's often I follow these debates about remote work because people have the tendency to call it work from home.
Yeah.
And I tell people it's not work from home, it's work remotely. And I point out this is not just a play on words, it's quite crucial because if you're able to work remotely, it means you're kind of location independent.
Hmm.
So if the conditions change, you want to go somewhere else, you need to go somewhere else. Like maybe many people felt that way during the pandemic, for example. So you can, and you don't have to change your work. And it also means that your cost of living can be very different. And in some cases, your taxes can be very different. So you can have effectively double or triple salary when you consider all these things. So then it becomes very different discussions because you realize it's starting to be a lot about numbers and about money, and maybe in some cases about feeling of some kind of personal and political safety in some places. Because to be honest, some of these expensive cities with big work opportunities, they are also not always the safest cities.
Hmm.
So that is something to consider as well. What people find is that often in their work contract, if they are employee, there are some restrictions about doing something like this. So, or the taxes might be still better, but not as much better as you thought it would be if you're an employee. So one of the things you would want to do in that case is to become a freelancer. You can continue working for your same employer, but as a freelancer, and perhaps have the business registered in another country. You live in another country, and you work for the same company doing the same work. And these three things don't have to be in the same country.
Hmm.
And sometimes it works best if they are in different countries as well.
Yeah, I saw a recent LinkedIn comment that you made about the distinction that we should be making between work from home and
Mhm.
remote work, and I figured that this would fit perfectly into today's discussion. But another thing that I'm interested in, Are there like any challenges or any obstacles to, something like having a business in a different country or opening an offshore bank account, obtaining citizenship? There's just so many things that pop into my head when I'm considering this.
Yeah, there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of things you can do if you want to diversify. It's not always easy to do all of them on low budget. That's
Hmm.
something to be clear about. Because, for example, obtaining another citizenship can be a big investment in terms of time, or you have to have quite a lot of money that you're willing to put aside for that.
Hmm.
Because there are some countries, for example, in the Caribbean, where you can pay 100, 200,000 bucks, and they give you citizenships within a year. That's certainly possible, but that's not realistic for most people. Even most people who have this money are not willing to pay that for this. But you don't necessarily have to have. Of course, it's great if you have multiple citizenship, but already not living in your own country and living somewhere else, like people don't realize how much more kind of freedom and flexibility it gives you. This is kind of maybe for another longer discussion,
Hmm.
but the main idea is kind of it's called a flex strategy, is that you have different things in different countries because one country that's best for one thing might not be the best for something else. So the country that is the best for banking might not be the best place to live. And that might not be or the country with the lowest taxes might not have the best work opportunities.
Hmm.
So if you can work remotely, you can really mix and match these things.
You,
But
you know,
even if you work in the country where your client or employer is, you live there, you work there, you pay taxes there, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have your bank account there or that you have your business registered there. And even if you do, you can have another one somewhere else just as an option. So somebody maybe wants to open a bank account in Georgia just as a backup option because it's a very different country from their own country. It's a kind of neutral country in some ways, and you have an option that you have something else somewhere else. You perhaps leave a small amount of money there just in case. And if things go badly, you have that option to transact using this. And it's also a very nice kind of way for people to learn about this mindset, especially if they have this mental block from diversifying from going somewhere else. So I tell people, go to Georgia, have a look, see it for yourself, open a bank account there, or have us help you do it for you. Just put small amount of money there, like 500 bucks, and then see that years later the money is still there. This can kind of remove a lot of blocks.
yeah, but I guess also there's a lot of uncertainty going on, right? You mentioned Georgia, which I think is a beautiful and a great destination, but it's also like in an area which is experiencing a lot of upheaval right now. So there's a lot of moving factors to consider, I guess.
Yeah, this is the point. Like you don't want to have rely on only one solution.
Hmm.
And to be honest, a lot of places are experiencing upheaval right now, including like people like the typical viewer might be from somewhere in France, UK, Germany, Canada, US. And I would say these countries are experiencing a lot of upheaval as well.
Yeah, good point.
Yes. So, but when you're diversifying, the point is to not only diversify to the same country. So if you live in the EU, don't only diversify within the EU. If
Hmm.
you're from the UK, don't just go to Canada and Australia. Like these are the same countries. So if you have Georgia, for example, it's a very different country. So that can have some risks and challenges, but the point is it's different. So for your kind of diversification portfolio, it's great. It's geographically and politically somewhere a bit different.
Hmm.
It's more remote. It's a different kind of country. The same way a lot of people now like to go to Paraguay which is kind of very remote. It's in the middle of nowhere. And this is precisely the point. It's kind of removed far away from everything. It's a very different country again.
Yeah, I mean, if you're from the EU, for example, and you diversify within the EU, then you're not really diversifying.
It has a lot of advantages to do that, to be honest. And people should do that if they can, but they should not stop there. And maybe it could be a way to start. And to be honest, within the EU, the freedom of travel, there's great ways it can be used to reduce your taxes and to improve your cost and standards of livings. People should certainly do that. But for example, to only have bank accounts in the EU, I would say it's not a good idea if they live there. And yeah, so
Okay, one final thing that I'd like us to discuss a little bit before we start wrapping things up. We mentioned crypto earlier, but what about, diversifying by investing in physical assets such as gold, silver? What's the role here?
it's nice because I was just thinking about that when I was
Mhm.
talking about diversifying to other countries. I would also like to mention for those kind of people who have this kind of money, when you're going for real estate and you're buying houses, this is again the same thing that people live in one country and they only buy real estate in that country. Uh, I would say, of course, this might require a lot of extra time and effort to do the proper research, but having some foreign real estate is a very good idea because it's very difficult for your government to confiscate it, and if things go badly in your country, it might be that in that country things go very well. So it's a very good idea. In some cases, you have a place to go if you need to, and in some places you can get residency permit or even citizenship uh, based on your real estate investment. So in terms of precious metals, that's of course also a very good idea. It can help with ability to transact as well, because if you have some gold or silver coins, of course, if you have too many, that might have some risks with both liquidity and with the stuff being maybe stolen and so on. But some smaller amount of these coins is a very good idea because this is again it's kind of similar to crypto,
Mhm.
but it doesn't rely on third party. It's kind of universally recognized, and you can use it to exchange. I would say the kind of good amount of gold coins to have. First of all, it should be in the form of coins, and the second is that the amount is the kind of good amount that you think would be reasonable to travel with if you need to move with it.
That's good advice.
And it's actually much easier to travel with gold coins than people think. I've done that several times, all over the place, and it doesn't really raise any suspicion. I'm talking about plane travel, of course. If you're crossing
Mhm.
border on foot, that's a different story, because I would say that's much easier. But even on plane travel, because if you don't have bars in your suitcase, if it's coins, first of all, people see this is just coins; they don't look at it,
Ah,
and
yeah.
then the big thing is that the coins they have a cash value, like if it's these officially government issued coins, and you can claim that they have that value, not the metal value. And
Ah, okay.
in most countries, that would probably work.
Nice. Some good tips here. So I guess we could sum up, like, if we needed to sum it up in one sentence in just a few words, I would tie it back to what you said earlier. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket.
Yes. And if anybody needs help figuring this out, knowing where to start, then I'm the person to speak to.
So, where can people contact you, get in touch with you if anybody would like to learn more from you?
I guess this podcast will be shown on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So they could contact me on LinkedIn. I can also give you some email address and links to post. Maybe
That would
that
be
can
good.
help.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. If you could send me some additional resources, and I'll include everything in the show notes, maybe also your LinkedIn profile, so that, if anybody is interested in learning more from you, they can do so easily fast, quickly. And yeah, I'm sure that this will already be very valuable for a lot of people listening. Thank you so much for joining me today,
Glad to
Andrew.
hear that.
And yeah, thank you for
Thank you.
joining me.
Great. Thanks.
And to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in again. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope it's proving to be valuable for you. And we'll see you again next time.